You're back with The Nation. New Zealand First is having its annual conference in Christchurch this weekend, and Colin James will attend. He joins me now from there. Kia ora, Colin.
Kia ora, Rachel.
So, what's likely to happen at the conference today then?
Well, it's the 20th anniversary conference, and so there's a lot of faces there that have been there through the whole 20 years, and some new faces, and one or two younger faces. So it's the mood, it's quite a jolly mood. There's a wide range of remits, the usual you would expect on foreign investment and on mighty river power and law and order and so on, but also on greenhouse gases and on peaceful protesting about oil explorers. So it's quite a wide-ranging event, and also that 20 years, and quite a confident mood too at the conference.
All right, Bill English back this week from Washington, Colin, and the shutdown in America, that's been averted. What impact has it had on New Zealand, do you think?
Well, Bill English, I spoke to him earlier, and he's also made a number of comments this week. And he says that in the 5 years he's been going to the International Monetary Fund meetings, this is by far the widest divergence of views. And that's certainly what I've been picking up in the international media, is no one really knows what's going to come from here. Two things. One, out of the American problems of the last month or so, which haven't gone away, they've just been postponed, whether that has a long-lasting thing. But also, what happens once the central banks start to ease themselves out of quantitative easing? And basically, Bill says, and so do the international commentary, nobody actually knows. And so what he's drawing from that is that we need to be prepared for the possibility, he would say the probability, of some shocks yet over the next few years. And we need to keep the economy resilient and the fiscal position good. That's essentially his view. And it's, I think, one that's borne out by the sort of the commentary in the international media as well.
And there have been, of course, those pretty extraordinary projections too, I think by the IMF, which is predicting New Zealand to grow by 4.1% in the fourth quarter of next year, I think.
Yeah, we're the poster child economy at the moment, and that's partly because of the sound fiscal position, but also because of commodity prices, and partly also we've got a strong domestic driver called the Christchurch earthquake. Which has got the construction industry pretty involved. But if you look around the rest of the world, there's the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank and the IMF itself were all downgrading their forecasts for global economic growth. And part of that is because the emerging economies, so-called, that have been driving global growth over the last couple of years when the mature economies haven't been so good, they have themselves been in some difficulty since the talk of the easing out of quantitative easing, the so-called taper, began back in May.
Indeed. Now, we have been slightly mesmerised, not by the global economy this week, but by the issues that may or may not have happened in the town hall in Auckland. Also, though, going on this week has been a situation where John Banks has been committed to trial. What impact do you think that could have potentially on John Key if he's in a position to form a coalition government next year?
Well, if you go through from here to the election, there isn't a change because John Key has a majority, even if there was a trial and John Banks had to resign from Parliament. And let's keep that if pretty big. Even in that case, National would win the by-election and would keep the majority just. But the real issue, as you alluded to, is what happens post-election. What does ACT do about its candidacy in Epsom pre-election? Does it persuade John Banks that it's time to retire and put in a fresh face? And there are some names being talked about. Even in that event, does John Key then want to do another, not a tea party, but at least some sort of arrangement? I think the National Party is finding it increasingly difficult to persuade its members or its supporters to vote for John Banks and for Peter Dunn. So I think those two micro-parties are now in quite deep trouble.
So, any indication at all yet, Colin, of where New Zealand First might position itself?
Well, that's a really interesting one. I'm told that Winston Peters, at the very end of this conference, in his major speech, which is after this program, will make a major announcement. But when I asked a number of MPs, was that the case? Some of them didn't know, and they don't know what the detail of it is. But that is the subtext. The subtext of this conference is, will New Zealand First clear the 5% hurdle next year? There's a pretty high degree of confidence it will. And then what will Winston Peters do after that if he holds the balance of power? And I think quite a lot of the expectation is that he would be unlikely to go into government with either side, would sit on the crossbenches and then support support the government, but with conditions.
I think we can say with confidence that big announcement won't be that Winston Peters is retiring, Colin, though.
No, definitely not. No, he doesn't look at all like retiring.
No.
And not only that, but the party doesn't look like retiring. There was some thoughts of that earlier, last decade, that it might be 20 years might be a bit beyond it, but there it is, 20 years.
And there you are at the conference. All right, Colin James, our political commentator, thank you.